I'm here with family photographer Anna Hardy. Anna, it's so good to see you. Now, we've been friends for a long time and we've worked together, so it's even more fun to talk about websites together.
Yeah, it's so nice. Thanks for having me. You are my kind of yeah, like website savior. I wouldn't go to anyone else for a website, and you made it, I think, what felt quite complicated feel much easier. That was like a
Oh,
big
thank you.
thing. It can
Well,
feel quite overwhelming.
I have to say, you're one of sometimes you work with a client and you give them lots of recommendations for things that they should strategically go on, like start an email list, do this for your marketing. And you're literally the person who's not just gone and done it, but absolutely smashed it and used your website to grow your business. So I wanted to just talk to you really about how important do you think your website is to you? Because for me, I feel photographers have a tendency to think, right, my website's done, it's a pretty shop window, move on to something else. Whereas I know that you use your website really strategically.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a big thing that you set up on my web, how, when we did it years ago now. But that was a big change in how I thought about my website as well, because before we did this one, I was very much thinking of it in that terms of like, it's just like, I'm just going to have it's basically it's like a glorified just portfolio.
Mm.
Whereas you were like, no, this needs to be a marketing machine. And we set up like in terms of linking it linking it to my mailing list, getting my mailing list set up so my brochure's downloadable through it, so that it doesn't just exist as something for people to look at, because ultimately we want people to look at it and think it looks nice, but we don't just want them to do that. That's just window shopping. We
Yeah.
want them to then do something else after looking at it and thinking, oh, that looks pretty. And it was that next step of actually getting them from looking to then taking action, whether that's joining your mailing list or whether that's actually booking you, but doing the things that you want and need them to do.
Now, I just want to ask you something about mailing lists because lots of photographers that talk to say, I don't know what to write about. I don't. Basically, they're kind of saying who'd want to read what I've got to say. Like, why do you think? And I say everybody's got something interesting to say. You're someone whose newsletter I've been getting for years, and
Yeah.
I see the kind of content you produce. How do you kind of convince yourself and why that having a newsletter and building a list is for you? Why is it really important for kind of photographers? And I think also particularly family photographers where you can have a relationship over a really long period of
Yeah.
time. Why do you think it's important to do that?
Well, because people won't always, excuse me, be ready to book you at the time that they first come across you. And even if they are, there are families who I've worked with, say, years ago, but they can easily just forget you're there. Like,
Mm.
you're not, as much as we had a nice time working together, I'm not going to be like forefront of their mind for years afterwards. They'll have
Yeah.
a nice experience, but people, you have their lives are busy, they forget that you're there. So having that regular link with them that reminds them that you are there, that helps to build that connection and maintain and nurture that connection, that affinity with
Yeah.
you, helps to both when they're ready for either a repeat of the same thing again, or
Mm.
lots of us photographers have multiple arms to your business. And it might be that excuse me, that they're interested in a different type of photography that you
Yeah.
do. So maybe they've had a family shoot with you, but they might not know that you also do headshots, or maybe you've shot their wedding, but they might not also know that you do families. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really, and I think a lot of wedding photographers will say, oh, well, there's not much point having a mailing list because I'm not going to book the same people for multiple weddings, which I agree. But that's, if you're going to sell other types of photography as well, it's really, really worthwhile having. And
Yeah.
also, just even if it's only weddings, to be able to often it can take people a few months to come to that decision, and the mailing list enables you to nurture that in a consistent way
Mm.
over however long, even if you're only intending to only really communicate with them for a couple of months.
Yeah. Brilliant. I love that.
So, I mean, that was something you really helped in terms of my website. The main thing I want my website to do is to get people on my mailing list, to get them to get in touch with me so I know their name and their email. I don't want them to just look at it and then
Yeah.
think, oh, well, that looks nice, and then go and do something else.
Love it. That's put. I was
Mm.
hoping you would say that. Exactly the same, because I feel the same way. Now, I know that you mentor a lot of photographers, and I know that kind of you do mentor them around what they should do on their website, what it should be used for. What would you say are like the three most important things that a photographer should have or do with their website?
Okay, so given that statistically people don't spend huge amounts of time on it, I think hiding all the good stuff in other areas, you need, as soon as they land on your website, it needs to be clear that they go, oh, this is for me, and they should know that straight away. So having your messaging and a very short bite-sized version of your messaging saying what kind, it should be clear what kind of
Mm.
photography you do, who you do it for, and how you do it, as in what's your kind of your vibe, your style.
Yeah.
So that should be instantly clear, both in the copy and with images that reflect what you're saying.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
such a
think,
great tip, by the way. If anyone's thought I should have some kind of brand positioning statement, but I don't know how to write one, that's like the shortcut way to do
yeah.
it, which is, who you are, what you do, and how do you do it differently. So that's absolute genius little gold nugget there. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Even if it's just like one word, adjective, like what kind of photography for
Yeah,
who, what
for
kind of
what purpose?
people.
That's
Yeah.
it.
It
Yeah.
just so they know straight away.
Okay.
Mm.
Brilliant. Okay, what's your next top tip?
So something that I see loads is that there's loads of lovely information and then you'll read it and then the page just ends
Mm,
and there's no call to action. And I think we think as photographers, oh, well, it's obvious the thing that we want them to do. There's a contact page. It says contacts if they want to contact. But it's like people's brains don't work like that. It's like you almost have to you always need to tell them what they need to be doing next. So a lack of calls to action or really vague calls to action. Like I see people saying get in touch, but that get in touch isn't linked to anything. It doesn't say how to get in touch. And nowadays there's so, what do you want them to WhatsApp you, text you,
mm,
DM you, email you, phone you? Like what is it that you want them to do? So I think just making sure that there are no dead ends on your pages, whether it's like look at my portfolio or download my brochure or drop me an email or fill out my contact form. Just be really, really specific about exactly what you want them to do next and link to it if there is a link to it
yeah.
so they're not scrabbling around.
I always say to people, if you're not sure what a good call to action is, next time you've got a block of ads on telly or YouTube, they always say exactly what you have to do and where, like
Mm,
in stores now, or go online to here to
mm.
do this. So, yeah,
Yeah.
so try and think of like you're a £1 million brand doing a TV commercial every time you hit the bottom of a page or a section, and that's
Yeah, it's
yeah,
such good advice because I think that's the thing we sort of because obviously we don't want to like patronize people. You think like obviously everyone's got good brains on their shoulders, and it's like yes, if they figured it out, of course, if they it would only take them a couple of seconds, but with that couple of seconds, it's like, and especially nowadays with just our brains with this digital overwhelm, just constant information coming at us, just
mm,
make it easy. Like, don't make them have to hunt in the menu for what it is that you want them to do. Just, it's any way that you can make it easy and take away all the friction
yeah,
basically around it. You've got just a few seconds to encourage them to do the thing that you want them to do. So don't make it harder for them
mm,
than it needs to be.
yeah, great, love that. And then what's your final top tip?
Um, to make it not just look at my photos, like because I think that's all about you and obviously rightly so it should showcase your photography because that's what they're hopefully booking, but it needs to be somewhere that they feel is right for them in other ways. So you can get, so really using your blog and not use it, not just thinking I'm blogging shoots, I'm blogging shoots, I'm blogging shoots. Here's some more of my photos. Here's a shoot I did. Here's another shoot I did. Informative article. Think like, what does your ideal client really, what are they wondering about? What are they worrying about? What do they need help with? And providing really useful content around that, putting that on your blog, SEOing it so that then you're getting people coming to your website through looking for other things that even if they're not looking for a photographer.
Mm.
So, for example, with family photography, you could do like an article about, I don't know, like weaning or what to pack in your hospital bag, like when you're,
Yeah.
or things like that, that people are going to find at the time that you're hoping they might need a photographer. And then obviously, again, call to action at the end of it. Don't just end your useful article with, I hope that was helpful. End it with, what do you then want them to do? Do you want them to download your brochure, join your mailing list, get,
Yeah.
or whatever it is? So using your blog to help pull people towards your website.
I know a photographer his two top performing blog posts are date night, 100 date night ideas for pregnant couples,
Love
which
it.
pulls in loads of inquiries. And the second
Yeah.
one was, what's the best cake to use in a cake smash photo shoot?
One that the parents like eating.
Yeah, and it's all really detailed about, will the icing stick to the baby? And you're like, oh my God, will it crumble in their hands? Like, oh, this is a brilliant idea. He gets loads of inquiries for that.
Yeah, yeah. This is it. And I think because often people, I feel like in the UK particularly, and with family photography, it's not a cultural norm to always have family photographs every year. Like it's a lot easier selling like America and Australia. It's just something that families do. They have photographs every year. It's much more part of the sort of
Yeah.
cultural norms. A lot of, well, in Britain, we're a lot more like, oh, isn't that showing off? Or, we're a
Ah,
bit more,
yeah.
who are we to be having our family photographed? It's so, there's lots of people who aren't necessarily searching for family photographs because it might not be something that's occurred to them
Yeah.
that you can have. So if you can sort of think, well, what are they looking for?
Yeah.
And then you can, with your great calls to action and your trail of breadcrumbs, like lead them towards stuff where they go, oh, that looks really nice. I didn't know we could do that. And then
Mm.
plant the idea. Then hopefully you'll be pulling more people in who might not have ever come across you otherwise.
Yeah. That is absolutely brilliant. We haven't discussed this in advance, but did want to ask you, because as someone who's been a very successful photographer, who over a number of years, and you've grown your business in different directions in terms of education photographers, but also in terms of brand photography. What do you think's like? I don't know. What's your number one piece of advice for having that long career?
I think not, honestly, like, I think branding, and not, I don't mean in terms of, obviously, yes, like the colors and the fonts. I know we've just been talking about that. Is that like that's like the visual clothing of your brand? But I think being really clear about that your conceptual brand, because that kind of guides what is it that you're wanting to give people? Like what is it that's driving you? What is your brand's personality? And it's kind of, and because I think there's always so many different fads and you can get pulled in a million different directions. There's so many different ways to do wedding photography or family photography or brand photography. But, and it, you can kind of, I feel like if you're sort of constantly hopping on trends, it's easy to just, it's not necessarily aligned with you. It won't necessarily last. And I feel like, I've never really been one for kind of following the trends. Like it's not always what I'm doing necessarily isn't like the most cool way to do it, but it's what the way I like to do it.
Yeah.
And it's rooted in really genuinely enjoying the way that I'm doing it. And it simplifies everything because you just think, well, is that kind of my thing? If it's not, then I won't do it. And it cuts out a lot of the noise as well. I think, I
Yeah.
mean, it's been, do you know what I'm saying? I don't follow the fads. I mean, I'm thinking back 20 years it was nearly 20 years ago since when I started the business and we were all slapping those bright yellow like vintage filters all
Guilty.
over everything.
Guilty.
Yeah, same. So like it's not true that I've never done, but I think that's something like that. I think if I then there's loads of other equivalents of that, and I don't really in terms of what's fashionable in terms of like editing or the way you shoot. And I think I've kind of stayed quite true to just the way that I've not changed a huge amount in terms of
Yeah.
the way that I do it and the way that I deliver it. And it's very much adopted like a sort of down to earth, warm,
Mm.
friendly, fun, energetic kind of approach to it. And that sort of stood the test of time in a way
Yeah.
that
I
it
love
might not
that.
have done.
You've probably read this book, but for anyone listening, there's a great book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek.
Mm,
And I remember listening to that audiobook, kind of walking up a hill doing my mental health walk. And I just remember thinking, and it's about understanding what truly motivates you. And I had been feeling a bit down and dumps saying, oh, support tickets, I hate answering them. And then I suddenly thought, hang on, everyone who reaches out to you needs some help in some way. And I suddenly got really clear and thought, wow, every support ticket is an opportunity to really help people understand WordPress a little bit better. And then every decision we ever made going forward was, if we're going to build something, if we can make it easier to use, like if our why is making WordPress easy for photographers. So sometimes when we're building something, one of the developers will say, oh, we could do it like this, but we'll have to write some code and they'll have to go in and find this. And I'm like, no, that's not what we do. What we do is we
yeah,
make things easy. So once you have your why, it's
yeah.
really decision making in business becomes really simple.
Definitely. And it helps like when you apply it to different things. So like you, I really feel like, in fact we were just talking about that about keeping things simple. I like things to be simple. So I don't in terms of how I approach photographing families, I'm not messing around with like different outfits and style guidance and the certain poses and like it's very like simple, led by what is unique to them and what they
Yeah.
love. But then when I started doing photography education, so the same principles apply. So it's like I don't want to give people complicated systems strategies. It's all about keeping it simple and
Yeah.
doable. And again, not a one size fits all, but finding what's right for each individual photographer rather, and if I'm working with brands, again, it's my kits, my setup's very simple. I'm not coming with loads of lighting. And I'm all about helping them draw out the
Mm.
personality of their brand. So you can once you've got that why and you figured out what your thing is that you like to do, you can apply that same thing, and you can then have that big umbrella brand that might have all these different strands, but you're not having to go, oh well, how am I going to make my family photography brand, and how am I going to make my wedding photography brand, and how will they sit together? If you've got that common thread,
Yeah.
you just do them in the same way. It's just the
Yeah.
same again.
Love that.
Rinse, tweak, and repeat.
Yeah. Love that.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much for spending a bit of time with us today. If you're interested in seeing Anna's website or working with Anna, I'll drop the links in the notes below wherever you're watching this video. And yeah, and if you don't follow Anna on Instagram if you haven't signed up for her newsletter so she can show you how it should be done, you should definitely do that.
Oh, thank you. I'm not hugely active on Instagram. I'm very sporadic. I purposefully, yeah, I mean, I'm on there by all means. If you want to drop me a message on Instagram, I will get back to you within a few days. But yeah, my mailing list where I'm most active. Yeah.
Music to my ears. Love that. All right. Well, thank you. And I'll see
Oh,
you soon.
yeah, thanks for having me,
All
Melissa.
right.
See you
Take care.
soon.
Bye.